Welcome to the CSC Sports Preview. I'm Ethan Strey, the student broadcaster for CSC Live. Chadron State athletes be busy this weekend. 3 different sports over the course of Friday and Saturday. First up, season opener for both women's and men's basketball at the Chicoine Center on Friday evening. After a tough last year for the women's basketball team, who finished the record of 4-24 overall and 4-18 in RMAC play, the Eagles are honestly hungry to get out on the court and start this season. This year, there's a new head coach at the helm for the women's program in Travis Brewster. Brewster comes from St. Xavier University, an NAIA school out of Chicago, where he had coached the previous 2 seasons. He comes into Chadron sporting a 45-16 record from the St. Xavier University. Overall, Brewster is a pretty decorated career as a coach and enters this season with his career coaching record of 173 and 135. Now, the Eagles return most of the starters from last season. This includes 2 offensive stars in Kyra Tanabe. She's a redshirt sophomore guard, and Shayla Powers, a junior forward. The duo scored over about 500 points last year for CSC. Joining them last season as well were Caden Comer, Olivia Waffle, Allison Olson, Claudia Dolliger, and Wadi Akoy. So a lot of juniors and sophomores on this squad. Now, they'll take the court Friday evening against College of St. Mary to begin their 2023-2024 campaign. Now, Eagles look to shock the conferences. Right now, they're picked to finish last in the conference for the 2023-2024 season. So they're really hungry to get out on the court and shock the conference. Now, shifting to the men's program for CSC, they're coming off of a really great season, 19-10 finish last season overall, 16-6 in conference play. CSC will return 4 mainstays and 2 more letter winners from last season when they advanced to the RMAC playoffs for the second time in 3 years, but also just the second time since 2011. So this year's team added really a bunch to their roster, 10 transfers in total on the year. Now, Coach Shane Pabin will enter his 4th year with CSC, where he looks to continue this great success that we've seen over the past couple of years. He has a little bit of a different coaching staff with him this year, but we'll see what he can get done for the Eagles. Now, the Eagles will start off the season at home, as I said, against 2 non-conference opponents for the men's program, first being Friday night as well against Texas A&M International University, and then following that on Saturday evening, following the volleyball match, they will take on the Texas A&M University Kingsville Javelinas. Now, coverage, of course, will be brought to you by CSC Live on the RMAC network for both of these contests. Now, transitioning to CSC football, as they're also in action this weekend, let's take a look at their final game of the year. They're trying to finish on a strong note. The Eagles stand with a 4-6 record as it is right now, 3-5 in conference play. Now, Chadron fell on the road against Colorado Mesa, the Mavericks, this past weekend, 22-38 in a really weird scoring game, a lot of turnovers for both teams, which I'll touch on in a little bit. So it's time to look at the recap of the action in that one. Mavericks came out and really put their foot on the gas in the first quarter, scoring 17 unanswered points in the first 2 quarters, and at the half would be up 17-0. Now, when they returned to the field in the 3rd quarter, their defense really snagged the ball from the Eagle offense, 3 consecutive turnovers right away. And within just 3 minutes, 35 seconds, Colorado Mesa would tack on 21 more points to their 17-0 total. So still a lot of unanswered points, 38 to be exact, for CSC at that point. Now, the stunned Eagles would again then pick themselves up from the dirt, as they have multiple times throughout the season, and really put together some strong scoring drives to try and get themselves back in the game and answer back to the Mavericks in this one, for example, and the Eagles would tally 22 total points in the final two quarters. Again, they fell in the contest 38-22. So let's take a dive into the stats in this one and take a look for CSC. 280 yards of total offense, 200 of those coming through the air, 80 on the ground. Penalties really set back the Eagles, 8 penalties for 93 yards, but right alongside Colorado Mesa's, they had 8 penalties for 71 yards. Now, looking at the third down and fourth down conversions, not a very good average, 5 for 15. I mean, that's 33%, but kind of a bit of a struggle moving the ball on third downs. Now, looking at fourth down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. The Eagles like to go for it on fourth down. They really have some good offensive looks on fourth down and can convert most of the time, especially around that midfield area. If they're within the 40-yard line on the side where they're going for the touchdown, that's really where they're finding the success, is just past midfield onto the opponent's side of the field, and it's where they usually convert on those. So after touching on the team stats, let's take a look at the players of the game for CSC. Quarterback who hasn't seen a lot of playing time recently, with Preston Pearson being on the field. Mason Hamilton got in that one for some significant time, 12 for 22 with his completions, 162 yards and an interception. In the contest, there are 3 different quarterbacks used for CSC. So Preston Pearson, obviously being the starter in that one, he ended up having the 3 interceptions right out of the half. And so Eagles went back to the drawing board, changed it up. Mason Hamilton came in and executed when the Eagles needed, and found the target, Brody Roden, who that'll lead me into the next offensive player, star of the game. Brody Roden, 5 receptions, 72 yards, and 1 touchdown. So arguably the target there, which hadn't heard much about Brody Roden being the main target, as Tommy Thomas has kind of been the go-to guy for Shadron, but kind of mixing it up this week and going with Brody Roden. Again, 5 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown on his line against the Mavericks. Now, flipping over to the defense, many standouts. I chose Logan O'Brien. He sat atop 10 total tackles, 1.5 tackle for loss. So really a well-rounded defensive unit are the Eagles this season. So that's really where their strong suit comes through. And whenever Preston Pearson or Mason Hamilton are on their games, the Eagles can really put up a good fight against any of the RMAC opponents that they face. Now, the Eagles this weekend kick off against South Dakota Mines. That'll be at noon from Don Beebe Stadium on Saturday. So looking forward to that one to wrap up the fall sports season for the Eagle football team. Now, transitioning to the story of fall sports, the Eagle volleyball team has really been the story for Shadron State. The Eagles may have fell in their last game against the well-known foe in South Dakota Mines. The Eagles appear to have clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2003 with this year's talent on the team. And when looking at the RMAC standings, if my math is correct, a playoff berth should be guaranteed regardless of result on Saturday. But if the Eagles really want to control their own destiny and, comfort themselves in knowing that they have that spot for sure, a win would be necessary on Saturday afternoon. With a win, as I said, against New Mexico Highlands, would allow the Eagles to continue to write more of their storybook season that they have been having. Currently, Eagles remain at 6th in the RMAC standings with a 7-6 conference record and overall 14-11 on the year. The Eagles, their 6th place position, would travel to take on the number 3 seed, but if they fall, obviously those things would be adjusted. Now, In the conference, at the top four host one game before traveling to the number one seed to host the site of for the remainder of the tournament. The Eagles, most likely, I think the way that it stands right now would be facing Colorado Mesa, the Mavericks in Colorado. So they'll go on another road trip to Colorado and try and pick up a win there and get to where they can further themselves in the RMAC tournament. Now, flipping the script to Saturday. Saturday, of course, senior night for the Eagles, and CSC looking to honor four players, to be exact, two graduate seniors and two seniors. So earlier this week on the Chadron State volleyball social media pages, team has been publishing a number of videos with these seniors, one by one, all their own messages to fans and comments from their fellow teammates, really commending them on their leadership and, just being overall a good teammate, good human beings. Um, just a lot of nice words from their teammates to kind of have a nice send off for them. So let's touch on these four players that are going to be honored for CSC this weekend. First up, Lexi Hurtado, graduate senior out of Aurora, Colorado. Up to the time of this report, she's tallied these career stats: 587 kills, 63 service aces, then flipping over to the defensive side, 529 digs and 114 total blocks. Now, then that brings in the other graduate senior in Riley Greiman from Windsor, Colorado. Greiman has amassed 486 kills, 86 service aces. But the big line comes on her defensive side. This year, she passed that 1,000 dig mark right now at the time of this video, sitting at 1,143 digs. So really a tremendous back row defensive player for Chadron. She did get back to her traditional position in the last home match that Chadron played. And so it was really good to see her return to her roots on the court, but she's really been holding it down for the Chadron defense in the back row. Now, at the net, career-wise, she has 59 total blocks while she's been with Chadron. So really a well-rounded defensive player in Greiman. Now, moving on to the first of the two true seniors this year, Mason Fagot. Obviously, you've heard her name called a lot of times this season and last season. So Fagot from Evans, Colorado, has had 117 kills, 62 digs, and 24 blocks with her time with the Eagles. Looking at the stats on ShadronEagles.com, looks like she's only played 2 years with Chadron, but has definitely made herself known and has been a real force to be reckoned with on offense for the Eagles, which I'll touch on her when we get to recapping the action against the Hard Rockers this past weekend. Then last but certainly not least, the hometown kid, Allie Ferguson. Ferguson commented on her time with the Eagles and said she's really thankful for her time spent with Chadron State and that it was great playing in front of some of the same people that had been watching her while she's grown up. So Ferguson really thankful to have that hometown support and be a part of this amazing team, especially this year's team with the run that they are having. Now, Ferguson, let's look at her stats: 94 kills, 36 service aces on the offensive side of the ball. And on defense, she's tallied 120 digs and 15 total blocks. Now, Eagles fans will certainly miss these four players. They're absolutely tremendous, outstanding individuals on and off the court. Wonderful people to talk to. And from the Chadron State fan base, I know we all wish these players well in their future endeavors and look forward to seeing them in the community. Moving on to the recap of the recent action for the volleyball team. As I mentioned, they did fall against the South Dakota Mines Hard Rockers, who they did travel and take on this time. They've seen them a number of times here at home, both in the RMAC pod play, and then the beginning of the season and that tournament. So the Eagles have really had a good look at the Hard Rockers, who are also in a really good position for postseason play. So Eagles might run into them again in postseason. So you never really know who you'll play against, whether it be in regular season or postseason play in the RMAC conference. Just really strong teams and really scrappy teams that can put together a great year. You know, you might fall in 4 straight matches and then come back and really, you know, put your foot on the gas and get 7 victories in a row and, you know, be right back in it. So uh, a lot of tough competition in the RMAC that the Eagles have seen this season. Now they also took on Black Hill State on this short little road trip to South Dakota, and Eagles, of course, sweeping the Yellow Jackets. But let's touch more on the game against the Hard Rockers. They did fall in 4 sets, as I did mention. Let's take a look at those scores. As it follows, it looks like set 1, the Eagles fell 13-25. They'd come back and take set 2, 25-22, and then they'd fall in the final 3rd and 4th set, 16-25 and 21-25. Now let's get to the game leaders in that contest against the Hard Rockers. As Fago was again outstanding once again. She's had really a storybook season for her senior year. Couldn't ask for a better year. And Fago on the night would record 13 kills and 2 blocks. Now the leading defender for Chadron State was Alondra Hernandez in that libero position, naturally, had 16 total digs on the night. So really some well-rounded players, well-rounded individuals. Looking forward to the senior night ceremonies on Saturday afternoon. Now let's take a look at the broadcasting schedule for CSC Live this weekend with all these CSC athletic events. Let's take a look at, first up, women's basketball against College of St. Mary. That's on CSC Live at 5 p.m. on November 10th. That's Friday. First tip at 5. So a little bit of pregame just before that. So be sure to tune in about 5-10 minutes early to these broadcasts so you don't miss out on the pregame notes. Now, men's basketball right after the women's game, slated for 7 p.m. against Texas A&M International University. And then we go to bed and get up and do it again on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, is the Eagle football team in action against South Dakota Mines. Noon kickoff for that one. So tune in 11:55, get your pregame notes, and kick back and relax and enjoy some good RMAC football, the last football match of the year for Chadron. Now, after the conclusion of that, if you folks come out to Don Beebe Stadium on Saturday, don't forget to go over to the Chacoin Center. Still got a pretty action-packed Saturday afternoon for you. Volleyball wrapping up their season, as I mentioned, versus New Mexico Highlands, 4 p.m. first serve on November 11th. That's Saturday. And then following the conclusion of that, or slated for 7 p.m., is the tip-off between the men's basketball team for CSC and the Texas A&M University Kingsville Javelinas. So that pretty much wraps up the CSC pregame, or I should say collection of pregame notes, preseason notes, and closing notes for this Chadron teams, the Chadron teams, as they are playing, some of them playing their last games of the season, some of them getting ready for postseason play, and then, of course, the basketball teams getting underway. So once again, I'm Strey for CSC Live, and we'll catch you next time.